episode 2 of the SRTJovita Show. Today we have a special guest, Fireball Tim, Hollywood concept designer. There's nothing he hasn't done. He's been a TV show host, cartoonist, I think, designs Hollywood cars, a whole bunch of other cool stuff we're going to talk about today. And here he is. Welcome to the show.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, thank you for giving me the time, and thank you to Diecast Breakdown for hooking us up. That's really cool. I'm just going to turn on the chat thing so I can see if anybody's in here. Awesome. So I think the first thing that we should probably start with is the name. I thought it was a nickname, Fireball Tim, but apparently it's not. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, I come from a Hollywood family, so I guess, that the creative process is always in flux. So not a name you want in high school, that's for sure. But it becomes synonymous with my beliefs and the way in which I think we're all very passionate about about car culture, whether it's a full-size car or a 64th scale. It represents, there's a little fireball in everybody with regard to, collecting or driving. And you certainly have a lot yourself. You do a lot of stuff online and a lot of great stuff. So, even my granddaughter is Fireball Abigail. So,
really? Wow.
It's just something that stuck. And,
so it's more about your passion then. So it's about your passion and your drive. And not about a car turning into a fireball.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not a great name. Also, when you go to the airport, when you have to give them your ID.
Oh, yeah, okay, I can see that. But you probably get a lot of questions about it all the time. But it is actually on your ID. That is your legal name.
Oh yeah,
right?
You bet.
Crazy. That's awesome. So I don't know where to start, and I'll just let everybody know that we had a short phone conversation about this live that I wanted to do. I don't know a ton about you, and I wanted to keep it that way just so that this interview could be candid and fun, and we could see the direction it was going to go by itself. It was going to take shape on its own. And I like doing that kind of stuff because I love to learn about people. I love to hear the stories and the passion and the history behind it. And it sounds like you've done a lot of different things. One of the things that I'm super excited about, other than the diecast, is the Hollywood cars and the designing part, because I collect a lot of that kind of stuff. I love to tour collections. I love to see the Hollywood movie props and the cars. So I think we'll kind of we can start maybe with the die casting and the cartooning, or wherever you want to go with this. You be my guest, but I would definitely love to talk about the cars at some point.
Yeah, well, I'm not a cartoonist, but I'm by definition I'm a concept artist in the film industry, and when I went to Art Center College of Design as a transportation designer, so with the intention of becoming a car designer. Not realizing at that time that meant going to Detroit and freezing my ass off, and that's just not something I really wanted to do. So I wanted to stay in California. I ended up getting a job at Walt Disney Imagineering, and was there for years. Designed the Indiana Jones ride.
Oh, no way! I remember that.
Yeah, Cars for Autopia, a lot of stuff in the early '90s. Actually, late '80s, early '90s. But met my wife there, and she was a sculptor, is a sculptor. And about probably 1993, I think, is when we started our own business. And she had come from that. So, I did the majority of projects I did at Imagineering were conceptually strong, New Tomorrowland, and a lot of automotive-based stuff. A lot of the rides.
So you actually worked on designing the park and some of the rides and stuff.
Yeah, well, if you go to Disneyland now and you see the entrance of Tomorrowland, there's that sculpture that has all the balls, and it's all copper and brass, that kind of stuff. The kind of stuff that I did. There's a lot of stuff in there that we did over the years. And then we left Disney. We got booted from Imagineering in '93. And which was the best thing that ever happened to us. So I went primarily into commercials first, and then into television, and then into film. But
Okay.
my first movie car was the '89 Batmobile for the Michael Keaton film, which is being brought back for the latest Flash movie. So I'm
Mhm.
kind of fun, excited to see about that coming back. And I started building up a level of film projects over the years. So ultimately, about 400 films and about 1,000 commercials, uh,
Wow. That's impressive.
mostly mostly automotive, but a lot of concept stuff. I design everything from weapons, props, sets, costumes, a lot of different things over the years. Starship Troopers, Gone in 60 Seconds, Jurassic Park, a lot of different stuff. So, but always
Okay,
always
so
love doing the cars first.
I've got a question for you then. So when you say designing the props and the cars and that kind of thing, are we talking about the actual, pen to paper design, or do you go beyond that?
Well, back when I first started, there was no computer design. It was
Hmm.
it was you you had your pen and paper was your natural weapon. Your weapon of choice. So I work in mixed media. My style hasn't really changed all that much, although I'll adopt a certain level of digital prowess to that towards the end. And a lot of production designers that I work with welcome a lot of that traditional art more than the digital art nowadays. But the companies that have adopted strictly digital are Disney with Marvel and Star Wars projects. My stepson is a sculptor on a lot of Star Wars projects. He's
Oh,
actually
wow.
working on Bad Boys right now, but
Oh,
he's
no
going to be
way.
starting Mandalorian 4 in about a month or so.
Wow.
So my style. I love working directly onto paper, and developing concepts. So when it comes to props and things like that, I did the film Escape from L.A. with Kurt Russell and John Carpenter,
Oh,
and a
wow.
lot of weapons in that. So I had to
Hmm.
design on paper everything from guns to knives to you know really brutal stuff for that movie. Was
Hmm.
on that for
Hmm.
about 9 months, and yeah, and everything in between. So I was one of two concept artists on that film, and did pretty much everything that you see in the film, from the submarine. And I don't know if you remember that movie, but um, Jurassic Park. I also did a lot of storyboards. So I was a storyboard artist.
Yeah, there's my Jurassic
Yeah,
Park card I brought.
yeah, yeah. I did that. So
That is
it's
one of
nice to
my
see.
favorite movies.
Yeah,
That is
the
one of my all-time favorite.
Yeah, the diecast is fun because the variations that get created. I don't know how many
Yeah.
exactly Batmobiles they've done, but I
Hmm.
collect myself. I have a good sized collection throughout this office here, and we have a car museum up in Oxnard where there's a pretty massive collection of diecast, mostly movie cars and stuff. So it's just neat to see creatively how people take what initially was the one that you have and then do variations on it.
Yeah.
We do that with Diecast Heroes Collector's Journal, so I do the cover of those issues. Work with Diecast X magazine, a lot of those. So
And
it's
then
really
you
fun.
also do coloring books as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. So right now I'm focusing more on. I have an Etsy store where we do. I take the designs that I've done and we apply them to everything from mugs to shirts and a lot of that stuff. I did coloring books for a long time. We recently had to shift our manufacturing process, so the books are actually not available at the moment, just for a couple weeks before, so we can get that kind of worked out. But right now, the Etsy store is really taken off, and I'm really enjoying almost on a daily basis doing designs for all those. And you can see a lot of pop culture TV shows that I grew up with, and a good majority of cars. We have about 120 different designs that are available.
Okay, that's really cool. Maybe I can drop the link in at the end, and then people can
Sure.
check it out. I did take a look at um, a bunch of stuff at on your store, but I just wanted to just address this one comment from Twice Diecast. He said, "Hey, Fireball, wanted to pop in." And then he says, "I'll have to watch this later." But he was one of the people that connected me with you, so I just wanted to
Yeah.
bring that up again.
Yeah.
And then
Love
about your
those guys.
store, yeah, no, that they're really awesome, and I love working with other people and helping each other. And that's one of the great things about the die casting hobby and the automotive world is I've gotten to meet so many amazing people. I mean, you
Oh, yeah.
included. And then I just get to learn so much. So thank you again for that, David. And I did want to mention on your Etsy store, I noticed the mugs. And so I'm really into a lot of like the older RLC and all of the cereal brands and like the candy branded stuff. And I
Yeah.
noticed that you have a lot of that, like the Frankenberry. I saw that and I was like, whoa, what is that?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool because I'm really into like the pop culture like food brands and candy brands, and I noticed that you had a lot of that in there. And then there was like an A-Team pillow or something, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll definitely refer people to your page, and then they can check that out.
Well, pop culture was really an outcropping, probably from Star Wars initially. Is that
Okay.
no one really ever made that many toys of films. They made some, growing up with Hot Wheels and things like that, but they rarely did Hot Wheels make a movie car or anything like that
Hmm.
until Star Wars came out and they started making toys, and then everyone jumped on that bandwagon. And pop culture
Right.
really started in the '80s, and that's when I was growing up. I was 11 when Star Wars came out, and the idea of working on a film like Back to the Future and having that turned into toys, and it
Did
just
you?
created. No, I didn't. That movie came out in '85, so
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I,
yeah.
I graduated high school
But
in
after
'83.
that,
Yeah,
yeah, so after that there was what, three other movies.
yeah.
So you would have been too young to work on any of those. Um, but
Well,
there's a
but
lot of
I have my friend.
replicas done now.
Sorry.
I was gonna say there's lots of replicas done now because a friend of mine has pretty much every vehicle from the movie
Yeah,
recreated in their garage. He does it with his dad, and he's got a whole bunch of different
yeah.
vehicles in there. So that I'm just wondering if you've worked on anything like that with anyone that's
Well,
recreating vehicles,
as
or maybe in
as
that museum.
yeah, as far as years go, I mean, my career really started in about '86. I mean, I was designing stuff around '81 because my parents were producers on TV shows, and I would go
Oh,
in and help.
no way.
But
Oh, that's
but
cool.
'89 is when things really took off for me once I got out of college uh, and moved forward. But I think what really inspired me was growing up in the '80s, I was watching shows like Dukes of Hazzard, Starsky and Hutch.
Yeah,
Uh, Rockford Files, all of those. If it was a show that didn't have a car, I really wasn't interested in it.
yeah,
I think that I enjoyed certainly the Munsters, and the Munsters was great, and it was spectacular once they had the Dragula and the Munster coach. But then I started becoming friends with the people that were creating those. I was running around George Barris's shop as a kid. Gene Winfield's a personal friend. Larry Wood from Hot Wheels.
right.
Even a lot of the guys that were like, we just lost Harry Bradley. He was one of the original Hot Wheels designers. He was my teacher in
Yeah.
school.
Really?
So
Wow.
yes, so I was really influenced heavily. But my mentor was Sid Mead, and Sid was designed the spinner for Blade Runner, all the cars for Blade Runner,
Wow.
and he was probably the first concept artist in film, and he had a stellar career and passed away last year. So I just, I took that footing, and it's really evolved though, because now, as a concept artist, the career, your involvement on a project doesn't end when the movie gets made.
Yeah,
You get pulled
that's true.
into toys and a lot of different things, and then you become one of the people that are actually creating product. This is what we're doing now.
Hmm.
Um, and it's neat to see young people really get into the '80s because they were there. I mean, they love all that stuff that is so diverse, from what you
Hmm.
just said, from the cereal to the
Hmm.
candy, a lot of those things. And I was there eating all that stuff, as fast as humanly possible. Um, so from wacky stickers and everything else, I still
Yeah, I
collect that.
remember that, the wacky package. Yeah.
Yeah,
A funny story. I was at a local market on the weekend, and there was a kid. He had to have been like 10, and he was wearing a Scarface shirt. And I said, "Oh, cool. You love that movie?" And he's like, "No." And I said, "What do you mean? Have you seen it?" And he goes, "No." And I was like, "Oh, so you just like the shirt?" I said, "Oh, you must know all the taglines or something from the movie." And he said, "No." And I thought that was really interesting because
yeah,
the branding has transcended from then to now, and
yeah.
the newer generations are getting into it. Same with like one of my favorite 80s movies is Back to the Future.
Hmm.
And there's just so many, like Breakfast at Tiffany's and all those movies.
Hmm.
with different cars in them, like you said as well. Ghostbusters, the original, like now they're making the newer remakes of the
Right.
movies, and they're going, what are they called? Prequels. They're doing like prequels now.
Yeah.
So they're sort of bridging the gap between the times, because now you can find out what happened before, or you don't necessarily need to see the original movie. But I mean, come on, let's face it, the original movies are the best, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's
Well,
really cool that everybody's getting involved now with the older stuff, because that's the stuff that hits close to home for me.
yeah.
Watching those movies, remembering, the things you ate back then, what you were doing in your life. I mean, I was born in the 80s, but I still love all of that. And I listen to like 60s and 70s music and 50s music. And,
Yeah.
the cars really tie everything together, I feel, as well. And that's why everybody loves all the cars. And then you could see like a Knight Rider car or something like that, like Kit or the Ecto-1, and you know exactly where that's from.
Oh, yeah.
Those
Yeah.
kind of icons will never really go away. I mean, like, even like, see, like the Turtles van, they're still making them, right? Like,
Oh, yeah. Sure.
and improving them, and so it's really cool to see, and to know that you're a part of that. I mean, that must make you feel really good too every time you see, that Batmobile, or somebody with a branded shirt or something. You're like, hey, I helped create that car.
Well, yeah, it's very rewarding. It's with the choice of going to Detroit and designing a car that might come out maybe in 10 years and you might see it on the road.
Right.
To be able to go to an event picture. Back then the only thing that you could get when you saw Back to the Future was maybe a sequel. That was about it. But
Yeah.
now with the universality of building universes, it's not uncommon for when a movie gets made nowadays, especially the stuff that I work on, and we have many conversations about the peripherals. Is that if we make this one film, which direction can we go? And you
Hmm.
literally in a circle, you can go move forward in time, you can move back in time, you can move peripheral
Yeah.
stories so that you have side stories of each characters. But the cars have always been characters in film. It wasn't just like Fast and Furious may have a lot of muscle cars and a lot of certain things, but they don't
Hmm.
they don't treat them in the same way that like Back to the Future or Jurassic
Yeah.
Park. Those are actual characters
Or
that you
like,
have feelings for.
Herbie or
Yeah,
Christine, they really were the characters,
yeah,
and they had
yeah,
like personalities and everything, right? Like even
yeah,
Kit, and
yeah.
so
The script in Batman, the only thing it said it was big and black. There wasn't anything else.
yeah.
And the only thing really that had been done was George's original Batmobile in '66, and
Hmm.
that was based on the Futura, and it was campy, it was extreme. But
Hmm.
when Tim wanted to do the new Batmobile, he wanted it to be imposing, intimidating, something that people were scared of,
Right.
and that was the only impetus, for that. But it's pretty common in working on projects nowadays that if they want to develop a car, as an example, we did Green Hornet, and initially it was being done with Richard Donner and a lot of great people, and they had the budget to develop a whole new vehicle, a whole new idea of what Green Hornet was, and then they
Right.
lost that mode and they lost their budget and they ended up going in developing the original car, and which was fine.
Hmm.
Uh, but when you develop a character like, let's say you write a script for Dwayne Johnson,
Right.
if he had a car, it's not going to be a Volkswagen. It's going to be
No.
something that. And we did
That
we did the
represents
cars
him.
for
Yeah.
yeah, we did the cars for Faster, the movie Faster with Dwayne, and that was something that epitomized him as a sculpture, as a person. What kind of car would he be, right? So
Hmm.
if Batman
Hmm.
had a car, what would the Batmobile look like? So that's a common question when it comes to developing the designs for these.
So you talk to, let's say, the producers and directors or whoever, or I guess the screenwriters maybe even, and then you guys create the concept, or do they come to you and say, this is kind of what we're thinking, and then your mind kind of takes the rest from there? How does that?
Yeah, I usually, I when it comes to the design of stuff, it's generally the production designer, and the script is already written. I don't ever talk to the screenwriters.
Okay.
Uh, I have screenwriters in my family, and
Mhm.
they'll come to me if they're developing something, a script, and they want something cool in it, or that kind of thing. But if a movie comes and we have the script, the production designer will send that. I will take notes based on all the things I think need to be designed conceptually,
Right.
because
Okay.
production designers will we're some of the first guys that get brought on, because a lot of times even before a movie is green lit, we'll go on and do concepts so that they will give them money, so that they can get $250 million approved for a Marvel film or something.
Okay. Yep. Okay, that
But
makes sense.
yeah, but if we get on, after it's been greenlit, that the production designer will give me the script, and I'll go through it, and I'll just check mark all the things that need to be designed from my standpoint. And then
Mhm.
if there's a vehicle, generally, when it comes to vehicles that are described by screenwriters, unless they're a car guy, they'll just describe it vaguely, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, which is fun because like the film Son of the Mask, which was a terrible movie, but the car was cool.
Yeah.
I
I
worked with
remember
Larry
that.
Gooderman, who's the director, and I probably did 120 different designs for that car before we
Mhm.
settled on a specific design. And then
Okay.
it came down to what would the budget allow. We couldn't go out and buy a Ferrari. We had to get something that was knowing that the build was going to be X number of dollars. What kind of car
Yeah.
could we get that would have the horsepower and do all the things that we wanted to do.
Mhm.
So it would go through a variety of iterations by the time it gets completed.
So you actually work with the builders as well? Like, because you
Sometimes,
do
yeah.
kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
okay. So you
Yeah.
you have worked with, like, say, Barris to do any sort of vehicle? Or
I
did he
didn't
come
work
to
with
you or
George specifically, because by the time I started doing stuff,
well,
George
he
was
was probably
getting
out of it.
older.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the companies that I worked with were Cinema Vehicle Services. We did the Mustangs for Gone in 60 Seconds. We worked
Oh, that's
on
cool.
some of the ladder stuff for Ghostbusters. I did all the cars for Austin Powers,
Oh, wow.
and that and Cinema Vehicle Services, and then Picture Car Warehouse. Those were the two in town here that I would work with. And sometimes I would go and just oversee a little bit, and sometimes I'd have to go in and really be with them the whole time. It depends on the flexibility of the builders,
Yeah.
and who they are, or the complexity of the vehicle. So
Mhm. Okay, so let me ask you this. Whether you've worked on it or not, if you could have a movie car at home in your garage, which one would it be?
I have them all. I have them all.
You've
Yeah,
got them all already.
yeah,
Okay. Well, a
yeah.
1-to-1 scale. Okay, or how about this? What was your favorite to design that you
Uh,
have? And you have a
yeah.
lot. So,
I think the Batmobile probably was my favorite, simply because it was the first time. It was very exciting. You when I worked with Anton First, who was the production designer, and you didn't really think that it was going to happen. When I did sketches, I didn't. I thought, oh, this is great. I got paid nothing to do it, and I mean, like a very small amount.
right.
But uh, when you get a photo sent to you that says, "Hey, here's the car," and you see that it's being built, and then you go on set, and then you go through that whole process of watching them do things, and then you go to the movie and you actually see it with friends. You go like, "Holy crap, this is
Yeah,
amazing!"
that must have been amazing seeing that
Yeah,
for the first time. Yeah.
yeah. And not to mention that it premiered I think it was at the Bruin in Westwood, and they had the car parked right out front, and there were
Oh, that's
thousands
awesome.
of people that were there.
Oh, that's so
And
cool.
nothing makes you more proud. I mean, it's kind of like a child, when your child does something really spectacular, and you see all these people cheer for them, like at a soccer game or
Mhm.
something.
Mhm.
It's like,
Mhm.
yeah, that's my boy. But
Yeah.
it's similar in that way, and that it's really exciting for me to be able to go and see the Flash, and to see the movie, that car come back, and see how it's used, and it's something that pop culture is not. When they say pop culture is a phenomenon, it's not an understatement. It's something that affects people's lives in a positive way, and that's really the only thing that we strive to do on a consistent basis. Is that I want someone to buy a mug and be excited about the fact that they have that it
Mhm.
means
Mhm.
that in some way, and whether it's a film car, or they have a good experience. at the movies. Even like I said, the tagline is always the movie may suck, but the cars are always cool. So
Yeah.
as long as long as there's a car in a movie, then people have a good time. At least we do.
So you mentioned Jurassic Park. Is that something that you worked on props in the movie, or were you involved in any way?
Yeah, no, Jurassic Park. I did. Well, this is the first film, so I did the cars
Okay.
there. I
The best
storyboarded
one
a
done.
lot. So I worked with Spielberg
Really?
to storyboard a lot of stuff. I designed the entrance gate. The big gate that's
Oh, of course
you
I
know
know the game. Oh my God, that's
yeah. So
awesome.
that was
That's
done. That was
another
done
one of my
in
favorite
storyboard
movies.
form. So that was done as a storyboard initially, and then it was given to other concept guys to flush out and for the designer to build. Um, there wasn't a lot of design because there was the buildings and things like that, but a lot of it was in the jungle and just the dinosaurs and all that stuff was designed by Stan Winston and his team. But it's a team effort. There's not. I can't say that. As to be honest, I would say that there are many designers involved in
Mhm.
vehicles and a lot of these different things. There's not one single person that can um, take credit for
For
all
the
of it.
whole, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But I
everybody
mean,
works together.
that's just so cool. Like, I'm so excited to be able to meet you and hopefully in person one day. I mean, you got to work with Steven Spielberg on storyboard boards. Like, who says that? Like, I don't know anybody that's worked on movies. So that's
Yeah.
like, and you're very humble about it. Like, you're just kind of like, yeah, this is just like a regular
Well,
Friday for me or whatever. But
I
I
grew up
think
in
it's
that
really
industry.
cool.
My parents were in the film industry when I was a little kid. My
Yeah.
dad wrote and produced a movie with Kurt Russell that was called Elvis, where Kurt played Elvis in 1980. And I was probably 13. So this kind of stuff is it's very normal for me. I live in
Yeah.
Malibu, and I'm working directly with Dick Van Dyke on a project because right now I run the Malibu Arts Commission, the gallery here. So we have an art
Mhm.
gallery at City
Right.
Hall, and we have currently we have a display of work with Jane Seymour. She was in Somewhere in Time, and Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. So she's an actress has been around a long time. So her work is actually in our gallery right now, and we're working with Dick, who has a collection of work that has come from his fans, and we're creating a tribute show. He
Oh,
said to me
that's
just this
cool.
week that had he known he's going to be 98 December 13th. That's when his birthday is. So he's 97 now. And he said, had I known I was going to live this long, I would have eaten better. So, so I mean, he is the most humblest of all of them. Very
Yeah.
inspiring.
Yeah.
And these are just creative people that in the same way, I look at these guys, that I get to interact with in many guys that are very successful. And I've had Keanu Reeves come to my car shows many times. But
Yeah.
one
I
of the
saw
most
that.
humblest people that you'll ever meet. And he just reminds me of a bunch of diecast guys, that just walk around, look at the show, and passionate. I don't really care about talking about his movies unless he brings it up. But if he wants to talk
Mhm.
Porsche, if
Mhm.
he wants to talk
Mhm.
motorcycles, it's like going to a Hot Wheels convention at the Marriott Hotel and here in LAX and shooting the shit with those guys and having a good time. I have tremendous respect for anybody that works on a high level, and I'm very fortunate. I'm very humbled by them.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful every single day to be able to wake up and love cars as much as you do, and I'm grateful that you wanted me to be here to talk about it. So it's pretty cool.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I do. I am very passionate about cars, and that's kind of how this whole thing started for me. I had a car club with over 2,000 members across Canada. I was doing tons of events. I was doing weekly meets, and then COVID kind of ruined that a little bit.
Yeah, yeah,
But it was a blessing in a way because I sort of closed one door of doing the events and I opened up this whole other world of die casting and going to conventions and
yeah,
going to the SEMA show and meeting so many cool people. Like I got to
yeah,
see I meet Jay Leno and lots of drag racers and lots of cool people that are into cars and super humble. Like Jay, he I met him at the SEMA show, and he actually listened to me and talked to me, and I was able to visit his car collection, which was like one of the highlights of my life. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I got to interview Catherine Bach and Tom Wopat at the, one of
Yeah.
the conventions. And you mentioned the LA Hot Wheels convention, which is coming up in October.
Yeah.
I will be there as well. Is that
Good.
something that
So
you
we'll
still
meet.
go to?
Yeah.
You'll
Oh
be
yeah.
there too? Okay,
Yeah, we
awesome.
actually,
So,
I can't officially announce what this
okay.
is, but we actually have something we're
Ooh.
working on. I'm hoping that it'll be done by then. I'm not 100% sure, but we
And it's
have.
for the convention?
Yeah, it won't. I don't know if it'll be at that convention. I'm hoping, but it depends on
Okay.
how quickly we can get it done. But it's something that we had out quite a few years ago. It was very successful, but we had some issues with manufacture process, and
Okay.
we're going back to it. So I'll tell you this: that once we're ready to rock and roll with it, I'll let you know. Maybe we can go live and announce it on your show.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I'd love
Yeah,
that. Perfect.
yeah, it's gonna
Yeah,
be
I
fun.
just found out today. I officially got tickets, so I'm super excited about that.
Good.
That's this will be my second time going to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited about that. Do you have any other? Do you go to like super cons or any sort of like Comic Con type stuff because you do so much work with the movies and the designs and?
Well, I kind of go wherever I'm invited to go. So,
Oh,
I don't, there's way too many places. So I don't necessarily go of my own volition.
okay.
If
Well,
I'm
that
going to
makes
go to,
sense.
to back east to the Johnny Lightning convention or something like that. But if there's someone that wants me to be there and we'll do signings and stuff with Zarnock or with Larry,
Right.
it's sad, that we just lost Chris
Yeah.
Walker. Um,
Hmm.
amazing, amazing individual. We had some plans to do some things together, but if there's, here in LA, if it's local and easy to go to, then I'm there. I'll go and hang
Okay.
out with Z and have breakfast and walk through all the rooms. And it's just rough because you spend several paychecks just walking through the rooms. I keep telling myself, and I don't need any more. I got so much, and
I feel the
and
same
then,
way. I have like a house full.
yeah,
Every
you need to
room
push
is
a
full of
shopping cart,
jackets.
through the show, and that's how I had that.
I'm in Canada, as you know, so I
Yeah,
have to pack all of the cars that I buy. So I try
yeah,
not to, but I always bring like an extra empty bag because you just
yeah,
never know.
yeah,
And you just can't resist when you have that many
yeah.
cars in one place and that many people and
Right.
stuff that you might not be able to get here, say.
Yeah.
It's really exciting actually. The
Hmm.
whole concept of the in-room trading thing, like I had no idea. When I
Yeah.
first heard about it, I was like, you walk into people's rooms and you
Oh
buy
yeah. It's weird. It's weird, but it's
it,
cool because
it
they
is.
want to, and for me, like you said, it's really about the people. You walk in
Mhm.
there, and it's really evolved so much out of the idea of collectability from red lines to whatever genre. I want to collect all red cars or I want to collect all chrome. But now with
Yeah,
the advent of customization, you have artisans that are creating unbelievable pieces. For
yeah,
our latest
sure.
issue of Diecast Heroes, which is coming out in a little while,
I'm gonna
the
have to check
the
that out.
next yeah, it's a collector's journal. So it's the guys in the UK. They do Superfly autos, and it's Diecast Heroes.
Hmm.
Uh, you can get it online, but it's the only journal of its kind that focuses on customizers. And whereas the Diecast X magazine is more about new cars, and they have some customs, but it's more about the the new stuff that's coming out from Hot Wheels or Johnny Lightning or whatever. But
Right.
the challenge now, each month, each issue, we try to create a challenge for people that are going to customize stuff. And
Okay.
this next one is Space Cowboys. So it's mixing the design language of the Old West, mixing that with spaceships, and doing some kind of die cast out of it.
Oh,
And so far,
interesting.
yeah,
Hmm.
really neat stuff that we're going to feature. I have the cover of the magazine I'm literally working on right now,
Oh,
and
cool.
just so I don't miss the deadline. But um, it's pretty fun to be able to see people come up with stuff. And so every time you go to the convention, you get to see in person.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I love concepts. I love ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And and I'm open to that. If people reach out to me and they say, "Hey, I'm thinking about doing this and this. What do you
Mm-hmm.
think?" I'm I do that for a living. So I'm actually working on a $180 million project right now for the city of Malibu, and it's a
Wow.
heavy concept thing that's going to last probably over the next decade in order to complete. So it's just fun to be able to see people come up with unique ideas. It's kind of like if I Love Lucy and Raiders of the Lost Ark got together, what would that look like?
Oh boy, what does that look like?
So yeah, so
The
that
possibilities
mashup
are
is
endless.
always it's that the ability to create something fresh, something new out of something that we've kind of seen the norm,
Mhm,
so
mhm.
fun to do that at the conventions.
Yeah, no, that's really cool, and I like the fact that you're allowing people to, bounce ideas off you or get your help.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, inspiration is important. That I've always felt that if I was ever in a position to influence in any way,
Mhm,
that I could get a point where I was known or something like that, that I would be the type of celebrity that was accessible. And I know a lot of celebrities that where things have gone to their heads. The thing
mhm,
about Jay, and I've known Jay for years, and the
mhm.
joke is that he's the only guy that doesn't know that he's Jay Leno
Yeah.
because he
Yeah,
goes to a show, he gets out of his $12 million car, he goes,
yeah,
"Hey, what's going on? Oh, is that a diecast? And let me take a picture with it." And he'll talk to you for a half
yeah.
an hour, right? So and Kurt Russell's the same way. There's lots of celebrities that understand that the job as a celebrity is to interact with people, and you're not,
You're
if
doing it
you're an
for the
actor,
people. Yeah.
yeah. If you're an actor, then they know that character. They don't know you, right? And I always felt that if with all the shows that we do, our vlog hits 35 million people on the Auto channel, is
Mhm,
that they see they see me. They don't see some character, that you play. And I think that's important. I think that the authenticity when it comes to this kind of content is crucial. And then you get to go to a show and you get to talk to people, and that's really joyful for me. And I get inspired by what other people do, and hopefully
mhm.
some of the stuff I do, if I can inspire others through that process, it's always a blessing. So um, I'm looking at your back wall, and right away I can see, yeah, you're a Mopar girl. There's no way, there's no
Yeah,
takes about
I've
it.
got the shirt on with all the different
Yeah,
patches, and yeah.
there's no question. There's no
Yeah,
question.
no,
Yeah,
I'm Mopar through and through. All of
yeah,
my actual one-to-one vehicles are Mopars as well.
yeah,
It's in my blood. It's something that it's always been my passion. I enjoy, working on building, racing, driving, whatever you want to call it. That's what I love, and that's what got me into all of this. So
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
actually thankful, to Dodge and Mopar and Plymouth and all that because
yeah.
that's what drove my passion. And for me to start this show and to get into die casting and collecting and going on the different forums and talking to people, and I had no idea there was this huge world out there. And like
Yeah,
you said, there's so many facets to it. There's customizers, there's collectors,
yeah,
there's sellers, there's people that just have huge collections that you can go and look at, and
yeah.
car museums. Like there's a museum in Oregon called the Brothers Collection,
Hmm.
and I was able to look at and tour that collection before it was public. So I thought that was like one of the coolest things I got to do, and I went to Pomona and went to the drag race museum there, and
Yeah.
I went to like an M2 anniversary show, and that's where we did that. And
Hmm.
the conventions are amazing because there's so many different, there's like toy shows in with it, and then there's celebrities like yourself and
Yeah.
other
Yeah. You
designers, and like
took the red
I
pill.
think, sorry?
You took the red pill.
Yeah. And I think some of people that have become my friends, like Brian Benedict, I think
Yeah.
and
Oh yeah. Sure.
Brendan and all those guys, and you even knew Eddie Castro as well, right?
Oh
You
yeah.
commented
Love
on the
Eddie.
last live. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Sure.
it's
You know
really
what?
cool.
The biggest thing I think you start to realize, the world is in a very shaky position right now where where many people are um, uh, creating separation amongst themselves and others, whether it's
Mhm.
through race, whether it's through color, whether it's through a variety of things, gender, everything else. And the thing I love about the diecast world and the car world is that there is no judgment. There's no
Yeah.
judgment between a Mopar person and someone who loves Chevys. They
Well,
every
sometimes.
well, yeah, but not to
So
a
that's the
level
fun part.
to where there's
Yeah, no,
conflict, right?
I agree.
It,
Yeah.
we may screw with each other and
Yeah.
make fun of each other, and that's pretty fun. But I think we welcome wholeheartedly the difference between a new diecast and a customizer and every you go to those shows and it's every mixed melting pot of every kind of person.
Mhm.
And what binds us all together, the glue that binds us together, is our love for the diecast and for those cars. And you just accept everyone. It's really
Mhm.
about acceptance for me.
Mhm.
And you can be young like you and older like me. You can be um, from some far corner of the world and or from New York City. It doesn't really matter, you know.
Mhm.
And that kind of connectivity, I always say that if we went to and met with the Taliban and just built a Taliban car show, they'd love it, and then they wouldn't stop trying to kill everybody, have a good
Yeah.
time, and enjoy themselves.
Well,
So
I'll leave that one alone, but yeah, I totally get what you mean.
yeah,
Cars definitely do bring people together. Even at the conventions, you see people from like that fly in from Australia or Canada, wherever.
right,
The same thing as the SEMA show, because they always print it on the bottom of the badges, and I would always walk around and look at people's badges, especially when you're on the tram and you're looking at the badges and you're like, wow, like people from like Brazil,
oh yeah,
Australia, like
everywhere,
everywhere, all
yeah,
all walks of life, and they're all there for the same reason,
yeah, yeah,
cars,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
it's really amazing. Honestly, like it's opened my eyes to how big the world is, but then at the same time how small it is.
hmm
Because like you get to meet all these different people, and yeah, it becomes smaller, but it's really cool because I think, especially with die casting, it's a good group of people. I mean, same in the car world. Everybody's super humble and nice, and most people are, and they're willing to help you and give you advice. And I think that's what it's all about. I mean, helping each other and
yeah.
and growing the hobby in the industry.
Yeah, I have a friend recently just kind of made me aware of someone, and in many cases we're the same, in many cases we're very different. But
Okay.
she was from New Hampshire, and I said, "So what's unique about people from New Hampshire?" And she said, "Well, someone from New Hampshire would see you parked on the side of the road with your car broken down. They
Yeah.
would pull up next to you." They would get out of their car. They would open up your hood. They would fix your car. They would close your hood, and then they would drive away and they wouldn't say a word. And I thought that was a really great description for someone. And
Mhm.
it makes me, oh man, I want to be friends with people from New Hampshire because that
Yeah.
sounds really cool, you know. But
Well,
when we celebrate our differences, when we celebrate the idea that we are creative beings, that we can only control how we think, we can control
mhm.
what we say, and we can control what we do. Those are the only three things that we have on our plate. We can't do anything else.
Yeah.
And if you're focused on giving love and giving joy through this hobby, and
Mhm.
you speak that way and you talk to people like how we're doing this now, and the actions that you take are you having guests on your show, me creating designs for whatever projects, is that you immerse yourself into that. How can you not have a spectacular life? you you
Mhm.
you have to you have to manifest the things that you put your attention on. And we put our attention on our love of cars and diecast and the people that are back of it, and we get to have a great life. And you would wish that upon anyone. You'd
Yeah.
want someone who doesn't necessarily love cars to say, "Man, just go to a car show with me. You'll see
Yeah.
what it's like. You'll have a great time." And
Yeah. I completely agree. And just from some of the messages that I get on social media and all of the different outlets that I have, it's amazing. Like even I did this one video on my car, my Super Bee that I have. It's one of 10, and I just did this little intro video, and I think
mhm,
it's like 3 to 5 years old now. And I still get messages on it saying like,
yeah,
"Oh my God, like that was such a great video you did. Like I have the same car," and I've actually met people from those messages on my YouTube video. that
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
similar car or the same car, or they say,
Sure.
about your passion and the things that you're into. Oh, it's so cool that you're into diecast. I had no idea.
Yeah.
So I love meeting people. I love being creative with other people, talking about different things. And like I said, the whole reason I'm doing this show is to connect people
Yeah.
and talk about real things that are happening right now and getting
Yeah.
people connected. Like someone sent me a message and they were like, I had no idea there's conventions for
Yeah.
different things. And I said, oh, there's a convention for everything.
Oh,
Like, there's a convention for everything. So he's like, oh, this one movie, Star Trek or Star Wars or whatever. He's like, do you think you could find me some? And it took me like 2 seconds and I found him a whole list in his area. And he's like,
yeah.
oh my God, this is
Yeah.
amazing. You
Yeah.
know?
When I
So,
when I grew up, there was really one convention here
mhm.
in Los Angeles, and it wasn't big. It was something that was monthly. You could go
Okay.
down to a science. It was a science fiction. I think they probably just called it a science fiction convention, right? This is in the '80s, and they had mostly no diecast really. It wasn't a lot of that stuff, and because it was early before Back to the Future came out and all that stuff. But,
Hmm.
I loved looking at the magazines. My favorite were Starlog and Fangoria and Monsters, I wanted to know how things were made. I grew up in the industry, but I would make stop motion films with Star Wars action figures. I
Oh,
did all
really?
this
Wow.
that a lot of your listeners probably did when they were kids.
Hmm. Hmm.
um, it was just really a very rich life, and I've been trying to introduce my granddaughter, who's 5, into my love of cars. And you realize that it's not you can't really get someone excited about something by telling them. You
Yeah.
have to do the thing. You got to
Hmm.
be the.
Hmm. Hmm.
And when you do something passionate, it's like if you sat down and you listened to a golfer and he said, it's unbelievable in the mornings when you get there, you're by yourself, there's dew on the grass and it's peaceful and he just goes on this expletive. You go like, man, I should try golfing because that sounds amazing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you go to conventions and you do these things and you
Mhm,
become an
mhm.
ambassador for coolness, you know,
Yeah.
and and that's really what we want to be, is that in order to really inspire
Yeah.
other people, is you can't
Mhm.
sit around and wait and hope that things are going to happen. You got to get off your ass and do these shows. You
Yeah,
got to go to
that's true.
conventions. You got to talk to people. You got to if you're into customize, you got to build.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm,
if you can talk about your dream car all day long, but no one's going to give it to you. You got to go out
mhm,
there and you got to fight, get in the
mhm.
trench. You know, um, someone said to me, well, you're going to do coloring books. Nobody likes coloring books. No one
Yeah,
buys that stuff anymore. It says, because no one's done anything cool. You go to the store and it's all crap,
yeah.
all racist
It's true.
pony.
It's
And
true.
yeah, create something that car people would love. And we got 60 books available in 16 countries. And just because I can't seem to stop,
Mhm.
like you're
The
addicted
demand
to
is there. Yeah.
the idea of cool cars, and it just keeps rolling.
Well, like you were saying before, I feel like it's all about creating experiences.
Yeah.
And I think that you bring that into what you do with the coloring books and, doing the shows. You have your own YouTube channel as well, and you
Mhm.
go to car shows. And I think that's what it's all about. And that's when, like, I was first invited to go to the Las Vegas SuperCon. And that's kind of what started, the
Yeah.
conventions for me and broadened my horizon in the diecast world. And I wanted to share that with people. That's why I did, some little videos about, hey, I'm at the convention and here we're walking in and blah, 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 because I wanted to give the experience to people that weren't able to go. And a lot of people have actually sent me messages and said, hey, I'm buying tickets to the next convention because
Yeah.
what you showed us got me so excited. We have to experience that for ourselves.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so
And
that
that's
gives
the
me a
true.
lot of pride, that I've
Yeah.
done that for somebody and it's created this new experience for them and they're going to share it with other people too. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's the definition of an influencer. And we're all influencers. I mean, if
hmm,
you post
hmm.
a picture of a pizza that you're eating, and you love it,
Yeah,
then someone's going to look at it. Especially you want to post food at dinner time. That's
yeah.
the one you want to get. You want to get traffic. Don't
Hmm.
post food at like 10 o'clock in the morning when people have already had breakfast, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but when you're posting stuff that you're passionate about, you may not connect with certain people that maybe don't want to
Mhm,
travel, or maybe they don't want pizza, but you're going to connect with those people that are like you, and that share your passion, and you're going to introduce ideas to them. And the more videos that you do like this, the more people will be influenced to say, "Wow, I could do that, and I have people around me, or
mhm,
I'd like to be on that show someday. I'd like to do
mhm.
something in my life so that I could represent that." You know, uh, how many people that you talk to have never even heard of SEMA, never heard of
Yeah,
a
it's
diecast
true.
convention
Mhm,
in L rooms, right? There's still a lot of people. There's far more people in this world than you realize.
mhm.
The road to 9 billion is a very, very, very long road. You know,
I think
and,
it's also cool because I have two accounts. One is my diecast account and one is my personal account. And the personal account was primarily, Mopar and cars and all
yeah,
of the car stuff that I do, because I do a lot of that too. And I've sort of bridged a gap between the two, which is kind of cool because there's a lot of car people that are into die casting that you would
yeah,
never know because they just don't talk about it. They talk
yeah,
about cars only, and it's that I think that's really cool because it's almost like they're all in the closet and they don't
yeah,
don't want
yeah,
people to know they play with Hot
yeah,
Wheels toys, but I mean that's what started it all,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
for sure, for sure. And
yeah.
it's splintered off into so many different factions now, and
Hmm.
it's we're at the point now. You go to Target and you can't find any stuff because it's been ransacked.
Yes.
And but my favorite thing has always been, like, I don't know if you know Gary Vaynerchuk, but he's a guy out of New York City that he's a practically a billionaire, and he still goes to swap meets and buys diecast and
Oh,
buys,
really?
you know, and I love that. There's so many
I
places
actually
and
have
so,
seen some of his
yeah,
videos. Yeah, and he
yeah,
like will sell it and then tell people like, "Hey, this is how much I got this for." Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I've never
And,
gotten to meet him, but I've seen some of his videos. So,
yeah,
yeah.
very inspiring guy, but
Mhm.
he doesn't have to do that. He can do his business.
Yeah.
He can make a bunch of money and not
Mhm.
care what the hell anyone else is doing, but he's choosing to try and add some value to the world,
Mhm.
uh, in a way that inspires and makes people happy. I mean, the reason I'm doing mugs is because it's a high usage value item for a low price point. It's something that is in every house,
Mhm.
and they have people have white and green mugs, but nothing on them. Why not create something that you're passionate about, that you can share, that's your own thing, and you can do that. You can
Mhm.
create anything that you want that you're passionate about, and you'll connect with an audience that shares that passion, and then
Mhm.
you become prosperous through that ability to influence and be happy and live a rich life. And that's our goal, is on a daily basis. You get to start over every morning. Every day you wake up, you should be
That's
grateful
true.
that you get to wake up,
Mhm.
uh, and you get to live in a beautiful place, or you get to do a wonderful thing, or talk to great people. And the gratitude, as they say, is the great multiplier. So the more that we can add that, instead of hatred and criticism and judgment to people, the more we can add being grateful for the things that we have, the more
Mhm.
the more we'll get. And I'm all for getting more diecasts. So I
Oh,
can't
for sure,
wait.
always. You can never have too many, though,
No,
honestly. I mean, hey, if they have to start going into the bathroom, then they're gonna have to be on the bathroom walls because
yeah.
that's just what you do.
And if you have boyfriends or husbands or girlfriends or whatever, then they're just gonna have to deal with it, because that's the way
Yeah,
it goes.
that's true. If I had a garage, the garage would be full of it all too, but I've got a
Yeah,
carport and a driveway full of real cars. That
yeah,
those are the hardest to display because you can't
yeah,
there's not that many choices you have to put the
yeah.
big cars, but the little cars everywhere. So, yeah,
Well,
and then
you
also
could
all
sell
the
one
other
car.
stuff.
You could sell one car and build a garage, right? Just saying.
Yeah, I can't though. I collect
Sure.
cars too.
Yeah, yeah, that's tough.
Pe- People are always asking me, they're like, are you ever going to sell your Super V all the time? And I'm like, no, never.
Yeah. No, I
No.
mean, you're a custodian of cool. That's the thing, is that you want, if you take care of
You.
that, then the next person gets it, and you're protecting history. You really are, and I wouldn't ever get rid of something like that either. You know. So
It brought me so much
you're,
joy and connected me with so many people
yeah,
that it's more than just a car now. Like
yeah,
I get emotional thinking about it. But, that's how much I am into all this stuff. So,
yeah,
it
yeah.
looks like there's some messages. Let's see what we have here. I'm one of them asking if you will sell it. No. So,
Good luck.
question for you: What do you drive? What is
Well,
your
I have a car museum, so there's a lot of we have about 40 cars in the collection. Every now and then I'll take one of those out. But I have a deal with about 14 or 15 car manufacturers. So for the
Oh,
last 20 years, I have a new car delivered to my house every Wednesday or Thursday, and
wow. Okay.
they they want to know just thoughts and stuff.
Yep.
It's what the experience is like. I'm not going to review cars like a journalist,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yep. But you're
but
giving your honest opinion.
yeah, but you have to use the car. It's one thing to look at a car and say, oh, I like that, but the practical aspects is what's it like to throw groceries in the back, put your dog in the back, drive it through a rainstorm. That experience, right?
Hmm.
And I have friends that are very very high level designers, like Frank Stephenson, who was chief designer for Ferrari and McLaren, and you know, and I can talk to these guys and say, what would happen if that line terminated here, or what would happen if the wheelbase was shortened by 6 inches. Those kinds of things the car companies really take seriously. They
Hmm. Hmm.
I say that the ergonomics are screwed with this car. Like in the Miata, when you want to get if anyone who's watching this has a Miata, a new one, to reach back and pick up your cup holder's like right here, and
Oh,
your arm
wow. Yeah.
bend that way to be able to do that, right? So they want to know, what some of those things are, and to be able to share that content which we create with people, and I never really know what's coming, but every Wednesday or Thursday the car comes, and it comes fully gassed, and I just drive it for a week and send it back.
Well,
So
I would love to get to that level. That would be really cool.
yeah,
I started off kind of doing car reviews. So I would do something similar where I would, go to a dealership and they'd give me a different car, all
yeah,
Dodges, of course.
yeah,
But so I did do that a few times, and it was really interesting. It was
yeah,
interesting
yeah,
because I would kind of review the car, and but you're kind of selling it at the same time. And
yeah,
I want to give my honest opinion because,
yeah.
like you said, there people are watching and people want to know what you really think of it. So
Right.
that's another reason why I don't really do like I don't I don't get sponsored by companies and talk about their product unless I really stand behind it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, if you want to throw my name out there to anybody, you just you just do that.
Well, the interesting thing is you have to find something that's unique for yourself,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you can go online, and let's say the new Corvette, the C8, is that you can go online, you can read 10,000 reviews on the car, right?
It's
From
true.
cup holders to horsepower and everything in between. But
Hmm.
since everyone can do that, you have to find something that only you can do. And
Yeah,
since
that's true.
I'm a car designer,
Hmm.
you know, and I spend my days designing cars every day, whether it's a full size car for a movie, or whether it's a diecast, or whether it's a mug or a coloring book or whatever. And I've cultivated that. And there are car designers in the world. There's not that many, but there are car designers. But they're either designing cars for manufacturers, and there's very few that are in a position that I'm in, and
Hmm.
I don't take that lightly. I'm in a position to be able to do some great stuff, and I want to be able to do that. But you have to be very cautious and careful how you treat people, and uh, how you convey. Like, if someone's willing to send you a vehicle, they're hoping that you love it. But the
Right.
truth is, what's not to love about, when you realize what it takes to put a car on the road.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
very easy for people to criticize from an armchair and say,
Hmm.
"Oh,
Hmm.
this sucks, this and that." But if it was up to them to manufacture a car and put it on the road so people could drive it, they wouldn't even know the first thing, right? So it's
Hmm.
kind of like if you go to a movie with and you watch Transformers and you walk out and go like, oh, that sucked, that was terrible, right? But then you go right back into the movie and you sit next to the director
Yeah.
who's you
Mm-hmm.
3 years, 1,000 people, blood, sweat, and tears to create this thing, and you have this sense of appreciation. You walk out like, wow,
Right.
that
Mm-hmm.
was amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing is people don't know, people who don't create content don't know what it's like
Yeah.
to put this content together. And um, the more that you can appreciate the creative process that people go through, it's like
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to go to a manufacturer, I mean, a museum where they showed you how to, or a plant or something where they show you how they make Twinkies,
Yeah.
right? All
Yeah.
that stuff we take for granted, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I recommend anybody go to go someplace, some museum or someplace where they manufacture something and just watch and realize, wow, it takes a lot just to put
Mm-hmm.
that candy in a
Yeah.
plastic wrapper,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then get it to a place where people can actually buy it. It's unbelievable, right? So when you learn to appreciate those things and what people go through to get to where they are, then
Yeah.
you tremendous respect. And I have respect for anybody that has done that consistently over time, because I know what it's like. I know what it's like to reap the rewards, and I know what it's like to face a wall, to hit a wall hardcore, and feel like you're failing. You know, we've all had those challenges.
Mm-hmm.
So life is not designed for us to struggle; it's designed for us to prosper.
Yeah.
And the more that we can raise the tide, so that we all prosper together, by having each other on each other's shows, by doing things together, by supporting each other, the better off we are. At least that's what I believe.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly believe that as well. And that's why I have you on the show today.
I
And,
appreciate that.
and that's why David reached out to me and we kind of
Yeah,
talked and they have their own show too. So
yeah,
it's really cool. And I appreciate all of the help and connections that I've built through this. So
you bet, you bet. I'll
yeah.
send you some people.
Yeah, okay. I'd
Yeah,
appreciate that. That would be
sure,
really awesome. Thank you.
sure. You bet, you bet.
Well, I
I think
think
I probably have to run because I have
I
dinner
was
coming.
just gonna say
I'm
that.
getting
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you so much for being on the show. I respect you. I'm really impressed by your career. I love hearing all your stories. I'm sure we'll probably have you back on again because there's going to be something new that you're going to want to talk to us about or something new you're working on. And
sure.
if not, I will see you in October at the LA show.
You bet. And if anyone wants a mug, the website is fireballtim.etsy.com. Super simple. Go and
Perfect.
check,
Check it out.
and new stuff all the time. But I'm looking forward to seeing you at the convention and anywhere
Yeah,
else. It's great.
definitely. Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks.
Okay,
Bye. All right, guys. Well, that is it for the show. We are having episode 3 next Thursday at 6 p.m. And we are going to have founder of Neverland, Kurt Z, on the show. And there might be some exciting reveal of some new product. I'm not going to make any promises, but I think there might be. And if you have any recommendations for my show, any comments, please let me know. Send me a message, comment on here, or if you have any ideas for guests to have on the show, please let me know. I love to get feedback and I love hearing from you guys. So thank you so much. That is it for episode 2 of the SRTJovita Show. I will see you next week. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you subscribe and save the next show. See you later, guys.